understand the impact of taxes. Okay, so please note that taxes also interfere with the market, right? So if you see the tax can be imposed on buyers. So okay, the government can say that okay, we are putting the tax on buyers, okay, or tax can be imposed on sellers. So in case it is imposed on buyers, buyers will pay extra tax, okay, on buying, and sellers they will pay like VAT etc. or sale tax are on the sellers, okay. But note that obviously both of them will result in increase in the price of the good, right? So we'll see that how it will increase in the demand and supply graph, right? So tax impact, however, note that it is very naive to think about if the tax is imposed on buyers, sellers will not get impacted. Okay, they will get impacted because buyers will buy lower quantity. As a result, the quantity demanded is lower. You have underproduction, so you have decrease in the surplus of both, right? And you have deadweight loss. So there will be decrease in the surplus of both the consumer and producer. So both are impacted, right? And it will result in deadweight loss. Now, who is impacted more? So the actual incidence of the tax, it would depend on the price elasticity. So we will cover this elasticity later. So it will cover the price elasticity of demand and supply. So when the tax is imposed on buyers, we are worried about the uh, elasticity of demand. Okay, when it is imposed on sellers, we'll see the elasticity of supply. Again, this is not covered in the CFA curriculum, okay, but it gives you a good understanding about the actual incidence. So we'll cover this once we cover the concept of the elasticity. Okay. So let us first go through this impact of the taxes. Okay, so let's see that first the tax is on seller. Okay, so the government has put a tax on seller. Okay, and the tax on seller, they have put a tax of $2 on seller. Okay, so this was our demand curve, this was our supply curve. Our equilibrium price was $10. Okay, now what the government has put a tax on seller of $2. So what will happen because of this tax? Okay, the seller will increase its price by 2, or the what we say is the marginal cost of the seller for each unit, it will increase by $2. So if you see that, okay, its supply curve, it would shift upward by $2, okay, because there will be an increase in cost. So we will get a new supply curve. So the new supply curve will be, so this will be the new supply curve, right? So this what we say is this is a supply curve, this is supply curve plus tax. Okay, the new supply curve by adding this $2 as the tax. Okay, now you are producing this as the earlier equilibrium quantity. Okay, but because of this supply plus tax, where is the interaction happening between the demand curve and the supply curve? It is at this point. So what will happen is the quantity that is being produced, it will be this one Q1, and Q1 would be lesser than the equilibrium quantity. So Q1 is lower than the equilibrium quantity, and what you see, since it is lower than the equilibrium quantity, this area, okay, it is lost. Okay, it is your deadweight loss. Remember, always I say that look for the rectangle. Okay, so you have got this area as the triangle and deadweight loss. Okay, now why we have this area? Think about it first. Okay, so we have to understand what is the consumer surplus, what is the producer surplus, total surplus, deadweight loss. These are the items that we cover. Okay, so when they are producing Q1 quantity, okay, what is the price that the customer is paying? The customer is paying the price, this one, right? So this is the price that the customer pays, right? So since the customer is paying this price, the consumer surplus will be this total area will be the consumer surplus. Okay, note that even though the customer is paying this price, the producer is not getting this price. Why is the producer not getting this price? Because he has to pay tax on that, right? So the tax he will pay of $2, and if you see there will be a decrease by $2, and the producer is actually getting this benefit. So this is the price which the consumer pay minus the tax. So this is the money that the producer gets. So PC minus tax, the price paid by the consumer minus tax. So the producer surplus will be this area. So this is the area that producer will have. Okay, now what about this area? What about this total area? Okay, this total area, it is nothing but the tax amount. So this is the amount of the tax that the government gets. So this is your government tax. So we have another item, that is the tax amount over here, right? So this is the tax that the government will get. Okay, but so you have, consumer is getting this much benefit, producer is getting this much benefit, government is getting this much share, but this part, it is going to whom? Okay, the thing is, it goes to nobody. Nobody is getting this, and that is your deadweight loss, right? So note that provision of tax on seller, it would reduce both the producer surplus, it would reduce the consumer surplus, total surplus is reduced, tax amount increases, but there will be a increase in the deadweight loss also. Now how do you compute this deadweight loss, etc., right? So going back to our initial demand and the supply curve. Okay, so this was our initial demand and the supply curve, right? So quantity demanded and quantity supplied. We have said that the tax is on seller. Okay, so the tax is on seller. It means that, let's say suppose PC is the price paid by the consumer, the money that the seller will get is PC minus the tax, which is, let's say over here, tax on the seller of $2. Okay, so the quantity demanded will be 30 minus PC, and quantity supplied will be minus 30 plus 5 into price. But price is not PC because the seller is not getting PC, he is getting PC minus $2. So I believe that this is a shortcut method to handle this case. Okay, in book you will find that they have converted both to the price in function of price and getting the idea, getting the similar result, but this would give you result much faster, right? So what we can say is, at equilibrium, quantity demand should be equal to the quantity supplied. So we have 30 minus PC, it will be equal to minus 30 plus 5 into PC minus $2, right? So we have 30 minus PC equal to minus 30 plus 5 PC minus 10, right? So what you have is, bring this here, bring this here, bring this here. So it will be 30 plus 30 plus 10, it will be equal to 6 PC, and you have 30 30 60 plus 10 70 is equal to 6 PC. So you can get the price that the consumer will pay is 70 by 6, which is 11.67. So the consumer pays a price of 11.67, but what the price supplier get? The supplier will get PC minus $2, so he will get 11.67 minus 2, that is 9.67, right? And if I draw this in the diagram, make it a bigger diagram this time. Okay, so this is the demand, this is the supply, okay, and this was the equilibrium. Okay, let's say the new supply curve was, to make it better legible, I will draw this one. Okay, right? So this is the supply plus tax curve, right? And it is meeting over here. So earlier you were paying 10, but now you are paying 10.67. Okay, earlier the supplier was receiving 10, but now he is receiving he is paying how much? 11.67, sorry, right? So he is paying 11.67, and the supplier is getting 9.67, right? And if you see the consumer surplus, this will be the triangle consumer surplus. The actual quantity that will be consumed will be this much, and the producer will get, okay, so what will the producer surplus? Okay, sorry, this will not be 9.67, this will be 9.67. Okay, so the producer will get this as the surplus, and this much money will go from the consumer side to the government, this much money will go from the producer side to the government, right? And this will be your deadweight loss. So this is your DWL, right? So let me compute first which is very simple, is DWL. What is your DWL? Okay, DWL will be your half into base into height. So this base, you know, it is 2, this is 2, but you have to get this height. Okay, so you have to see what is the quantity earlier consumed. Earlier consumed quantity was 20. Okay, now what is the new quantity that is being consumed? So we know this price is 11.67. Okay, so since we know the price as 11.67, we can say it is 30 minus 11.67, so it will be how much? 18.33. so this is the quantity that is being consumed. Obviously, like, it would be 18, because you cannot have 0.33 as a quantity, but let's say for the sake of computation we will compute it on the basis of 18.33, assuming it is 18.33 thousand, right? So this is your 18.33, so this will be your 1.67. so your deadweight loss will be half into 1.67 into your, this is your 2, right? So the deadweight loss is 1.67, okay, because of the tax. Okay, then let us see the tax amount that you get. The tax amount is this into this, so this we know is 18.33, so 18.33 into, and this we know it is $2, 11 minus 9, so the tax amount is 36.67, right? So the tax and DWL is known. Okay, also these two will be pretty simple to get, because this, from the earlier discussion we saw it is 30 and this is 18.33, we can get this is half into 18.33 into 30 minus 11.67, and similarly this we can get, okay, because this was earlier as 6, so it will be half into 9.67 minus 6 into 18.33. So this will give you, I will not compute the producer surplus and the consumer surplus, right? So these were the two things which we have computed, right? So the actual impact we will cover once we consider the elasticity. So impact of tax, so the $2, calculate the impact on the price paid by the buyer and the price received by the seller. So the price paid by the buyer, we saw it is more, 10.67, 11.67, received by the seller is 9.67. Okay, so how would the impact change when the $2 per unit tax is imposed on the buyers and not the sellers? So they're asking, they're changing the part 2 and they're saying that what if the tax is imposed on the buyers and not the sellers? So